In this section, we'll cover the signaling layer of our application. Let's start with Client.js by adding event handlers and a function for sending messages. So let's add an additional variable here for the socket IO library, which will initialize the IO function. Now let's add an event for the register button that will trigger the whole execution of the call. This will be equal to an anonymous function in which we will get the room name from the input name value and the username from the input the room name from the input room, sorry about that, and the input name from the username from the input name value. Now let's make a quick validation that neither of those values are empty. So the room name, if room name is equal to empty, or username is equal to empty, let's send a message saying room and name are required. And if everything goes well, let's initialize a message. Message will be equal to event. The event of this message is join room. The username will be username. The room name will be room name. Now we will use a helper function here called send message. We will create this in a minute. So let's just simply call it and send the message through that function. And let's also code our fabulous mechanism for hiding and showing divs, which is div room selection style will be equal to display none, and div meeting room style will be display block. Okay, we have our event. Now let's create our event, our message listener, which will listen on messages on the type of event on the type of message of message. So this will receive a parameter, and let's put some login here saying message arrived. Here we're gonna put message event, and let's use a switch here to see what is the event of the received message. So if it's new participant arrived, we're gonna call a function called receive video, to which we will send the message user ID and the message username. Let's call break here. Okay, another case. This is for existing participants, and in here we're gonna call a function named on existing participants that will receive the message user ID and the message existing users. Will contain the list of all the existing users. Add another break. Now another case, this will be for the event receive video answer. In this case, again, we're gonna call a function. Oh, I have an extra semicolon there. we're gonna call a function named onReceive video answer, which will get the message sender ID and the message SDP answer. Now another break here, and finally let's add another case. This will be for candidate, which will call a method called addIceCandidate. Message user ID will be the first parameter, and message candidate will be the second parameter. Let's not forget to add a break in here. So now let's simply define the helper function for sending messages. This will be send message, we'll receive a message, and what we're gonna do here is simply making a socket emit of type message that will include the parameter. Now let's go to the server.js file, where we also need to set up our signaling mechanism. So let's add here another variable for socket.io that we'll call the require socket.io library, HTTP. Let's add the library, npm install socket.io. Let's wait a couple of seconds. And now let's create the message listener. IO on connection. This will be an anonymous function that gets the socket, and basically we only gonna be listening for one type of message, which is on message. We will have another anonymous function, and in here we're gonna use another switch for checking the type of messages event, and we're gonna define similar cases to the ones that we define in client. So the first one is gonna be case join room, and in this case we're gonna call a function called named join room that will get the socket, the message username, also the message room name, and a callback function for managing errors. So let's simple show a message, and also add the break clause. Now let's create another case for receive video from event. In this case, let's receive video from function that will receive the socket, the message user ID, and the message room name. We also need a message SDP offer, and same as before, a callback function for handling errors. Simple call. Let's simple show a message, and the break clause. Let's add a last case, which will be for candidate messages, in which we will call the addIceCandidate function. Same as we will get socket, the message user ID, the message room name, and message candidate. Also add the callback function if error, cancel log error, and break clause. Okay, so now we have our signaling mechanism set. In the next videos, we will get deep into each one of these functions. So when you're ready, move to the next lesson.